What's going on, everyone? Welcome into GDT Live here today on a Monday, and we got a fun one today. We got Erik Erlendsson, the Tampa Bay Lightning insider, as he's known on Twitter, joining us today. We're going to talk a lot about the Bolts. They're a team that, as you guys know, I loved back in 2004 for a certain reason, of course. Um, but we're gonna give a little chat with Erik, and then me and Dayton recorded an episode with Josh Lawrence yesterday, former Memorial Cup champion with St. John. Josh has been playing overseas now in Switzerland and Finland. He's headed to the KHL this year, so we chatted with him all about that. So we'll get into that after, and I'll play that interview. But without further ado, we'll swing it into a little transition, and we'll bring Erik aboard for some Bolts talk. Erik, how's it going on this Monday?
Great, other than these dang heat advisories here in Florida. So you can imagine it's already hot in Florida, and now we have these heat advisories. It's definitely an indoor kind of day, which would be great for hockey because you get into the cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in Kamloops, it gets pretty hot as well. And I remember during the 2023 Memorial Cup, it was like 35 degrees outside Celsius, and just you you got your suit on, and you're just sweating out there trying to get into the arena.
Yeah.
Um, let's go back because I kind of want to know, like, for those of you who don't know you, how you got into covering the Lightning, and how long you've been doing it for.
Ooh, feels like forever. Like a lot of newspaper writers, I started out covering high school sports here in Tampa. Graduated from college in '96, so I was already writing for one of the papers here. Got involved with the Tampa Tribune and kind of worked my way up. And when an opportunity to cover hockey opened up, I applied, and our sports editor, Duke Moss, may he rest in peace, said, I want to give you this chance. And that was 2001. Actually, 2000, February 2000, I was hired full time by the paper. And by the 2001-2002 season, I took over the lighting beat for the paper and did it all the way up until May 3rd, 2016, when we were bought out by our competitor and put to rest immediately on the spot. So started doing my own website and tried to stay involved as much as I could with the sport, because, when you do something for as long as I have and you still have a passion for it, you try and find ways to make it continue to happen. And that's what the website is, lightinginsider.com, and do some freelance work here and there. But yeah, so my first year covering 01-02 was John Tortorella's first year with the Lightning, and I watched him build the culture, change the way it used to be a country club, the way things were kind of going down here. And he came in and sort of changed things around and turned, the LeCaviers and the Brad Richards and the Marty St. Louis, the Freddie Modines, the Dan Boyles into championship caliber players. And lo and behold, in 04, as you sort of teed up there, they won the cup. And it's been an up and down up until Steve Yzerman arrived. And obviously they've been a sort of model of consistency for the past decade. But that's how I got started covering the Lightning. And it's something I still enjoy the heck out of and love going to the rink every day.
Oh, I mean, how could you not down there in Florida for sure? I mean, it's just beautiful. Going to that '04 team, like, I was a huge fan of guys like Daryl Sador and Brad Lukowich, and because they both played for the Kamloops Blazers, so I had that bias, of course. But another guy that I immediately fell in love with was Happy Bulin. I mean, I was probably 7 years old, 8 years old at that time, and
Thanks for making
just
me feel
was
old. I appreciate that, Colton.
hey, on a flip side, I work for the Kamloops Blazers, and we just had the 2010 kids in for development camp, and some of them don't even know what Crosby's golden goal is, and I was like, holy cow. Okay.
It's amazing, isn't it? Makes us
It
feel
is.
old
It
real
really
fast.
is. It does. It's crazy. But yeah, and guys like Dave Vanderchuk and Marty St. Louis. So what was that '04 team like?
Well, certainly they were a cast of some veteran players. You mentioned Daryl Sador brought in at the trade deadline that year in 04 and really kind of stabilized their back line a little bit. But, he was that veteran guy that they really kind of needed on the back end, especially with his experience and, having been to that cup with the Kings in 93. The Dave Andreychuks, the Tim Taylors, those were the guys that, really John Tortorella wanted around to try and bring that sort of leadership and understanding of, what it meant to try and win a championship. And Andreychuk at that time obviously was one of those old guys without a cup players, right? All the great things that he had accomplished in his career. And he had never, even gotten to a Stanley Cup final, I don't think, if memory serves me correctly, but he really needed, especially Vinny. I mean, it's well documented, the clashes, if you will, between John Tortorella and Vinny Lecavalier, right? Torts wanted him to have a certain way to play, a way of go out and grab the game, right? Be that player. I want you to be that player. And it was a hard, John Tortorella, even going back then, he certainly evolved throughout his career, but this was his first stop as an NHL head coach. So, he had his ways of doing things, old school style. And, there was pushback, and, there were the whole trade rumors that kind of came up when Torts first came on board, but that's why he needed the Andreychuks and the Taylors. And, they even brought in Grant Ledyard at one point in time to kind of be that older type player to just kind of get the message across without the coach being the one to get it across. And so you had that really good mix of the veterans and the young players, the St. Louis, who was really starting to kind of come into the player, the Hall of Fame player that he turned out to be. Brad Richards was just starting out. Freddie Modine was that steady presence on the wing. Taylor and Andreychuk kind of made up the third line, that grind line. So it just kind of all kind of came together. But as with a lot of teams, and, you mentioned Nikolai Khabibulin, he was the backbone of it. He was the presence that they needed in net to help give a young team at that time, even with these veteran guys, but the young core of that team, some confidence, right? Like he could steal games for you. That was the type of goaltender Khabibulin was at that time. So he was the confidence builder, and everything else was building the culture. And, it all kind of came together the second half of that 03-04 year, because, probably a lot of people don't remember, right around Christmas, they were a 500 team. They were kind of middle of the way through the season a little bit. They just, you always remember covering a team, certain aspects and points of a season. They lost an afternoon game 1-0 to Mark Denis and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And it was one of those, we need a team meeting type of losses, right? So they had the meeting. It was right before they went out on a West Coast trip. I think they won the next game, lost the next two, but then I don't think they lost 3 games the rest of the season. Now, there were ties back then. There were no overtime losses in that season. But, Torts used the phrase a lot in the playoffs and the years since, that it got to the point that everything just kind of came together. All he had to do was open the door and let him play, right? Like he didn't have to coach him. The room took over. The Andreychuks, the Martys, they took over the game. They knew exactly what they had to do, and they went out and did it. So it all just kind of came together, and it was such a magical run for this market, especially, right? The team 92-93 was their first year, so it was just over a decade into their existence. So a lot of hockey fans, new hockey fans in this market, hadn't been through a playoff experience. They had the 96 series against the Flyers. They were out in 6, right? Then they had the one the year before. They won their first round. They beat Washington in the first round, lost to Jersey in the second, got a little bit of taste of it. But that 2-month roller coaster of emotions of a playoff success story just brought this community together in a way they hadn't before, because they hadn't experienced this type of successful hockey. And I said it a million times, a generation of hockey fans were born during that run. And, those are all 28, 29, 30, 31-year-olds now who were kids watching that 04 team develop and really make this a hockey market. The lockout 0405 hurt that momentum. They would have brought back essentially the same exact team as they did the year before. But then the lockout happened, and Marty St. Louis had to be signed to a contract, and Vinny's contract had to be signed. Habby Bullman became an unrestricted free agent. So everything just kind of ripped up apart, and they kind of just barely made their way into the playoffs the next couple of seasons. But that 04 run, put Tampa on the map as a hockey market and helped grow the game in the state and grow a fan base that still thrives today.
It's crazy to look back on that team and then see the success that they've had nowadays, and just how the rosters kind of compare to one another in a sense. Just with you've got your Russian goaltender who's phenomenal. You got your leading veterans. You got your grinder guys. Um, Going to the back-to-back Stanley Cups, and kind of just before we get to the back-to-back cups, was there a moment before that where you could tell that this team had something special going for it?
Wow. Well, like, I don't know if it was a moment that you knew they had something special, but when they got swept by Columbus, by John Tortorella in 2019, it's a seminal moment, right? Obviously, it's a down point. It's a crushing moment for a lot of those players. Certainly, the fan base here, the expectations were so high for that team, having tied the NHL record for wins in a season, and you felt so good about that team. And then they go out and get a 3-0 lead in the first period of game one, and then they lose it. And then they're stunned. They can't recover. And all of a sudden, they're out 4 games. You're like, what in the world just happened? So I think the moment that defines those 2 championship teams actually comes from management, and specifically Julien Brisebois and his staff, to not panic and react emotionally to that loss, because that was the easy thing to do. John Cooper can't get it done. This young core is not good enough. They can't win the big games. Yeah, we got to the championship in 15, but you lost to Pittsburgh in the Eastern Conference Championship. The next year, you lost to the Capitals. You had 3-2 series lead in both of those series against Pittsburgh and Washington, and you couldn't get it done. And now you have a record-breaking season, and you lose, and you don't even win a playoff game. So it would have been easy to just break it all up and, okay, let's move on and try and build a different way. But they took the analytical sort of approach. Okay, we feel we're close, even though we lost. We feel we're close. What can we do to make us that much better? So they didn't blow it up, right? Stamkos was still here, Kucherov, Braden Point. I mean, everybody was still here. And then the trades at the trade deadline for Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow turned out to be just absolute gold in what they did. So, I don't know if there's a moment that you thought, okay, this team can do it. I think because the message was from management, we still believe in you. Yeah, it's an embarrassing moment. President's Trophy winning team gets swept in the first round. It hurts. And believe me, that scar is still there. That's a scar that will never go away and will always be talked about when we talk about this version, this period of time of this team. Even with the championships, we will continue to talk about that 19 team, because in a way that helped build the team that won back-to-back titles, got to 3 straight Stanley Cup championships, and maybe a Braden Point injury away from winning 3 straight. Who knows what would have happened in that series against the Avalanche? But I still look at that loss to Columbus in Game 4 and the way that the organization handled it as sort of a moment in time where it's either goes off the rails here or stays strong here, and they found a way to keep it strong here, and they put themselves in position as arguably the dynasty phrase gets thrown around quite a bit. I don't know what a modern day dynasty looks like, but they're in that conversation.
Absolutely, they are. And I'm glad that you brought up Braden Point, because I'm a big Braden Point fan, and I truly believe that if he was healthy for that series, and they would have been able to capture a 3rd straight Stanley Cup. I think it's just tough, obviously, looking back now. But I think if he was healthy, there would have been a significant chance at that. But going back to those back-to-back cups, how do I word it? what did it mean for the city of Tampa Bay to win 2 straight?
Well, it's you think about the boat parades, right? And
Yeah.
certainly Tom Brady made the boat parade much more popular. But the first two boat parade, and what a brilliant idea! Obviously, it was still COVID time when they won that championship in 20, and so
Mhm.
you couldn't really do a street parade because you couldn't put that many people close together. So they did the boat parade and found a way to map it out. But it brought, I think, the fan base together in a different kind of way that hadn't been done before with it. And then you look at the one in 21 where things were open a little bit more, and people could kind of gather, but they did the boat parade again. And the scenes of Alex Killorn on his jet ski, right, to holding the Stanley Cup. He's got the WWE championship belt around him, holding that up with the two. I mean, those images and everything else. Obviously, the influencer that Alex Killorn kind of turned into with his Doc Talk series that they did during COVID times. So I think that having those championships, especially with the disappointments of the previous 5-6 years, right, getting close in 15 and losing to the Blackhawks, and maybe a Tyler Johnson injury, prevents them from maybe winning that series in 15. They had a 2-1 series lead. The disappointment of losing to Pittsburgh in 17 after being up 3-2 and losing in 7 games, being up against Washington. Crazy series, lose the first 2 games at home, win the next 3, and then lose the next 2, including game 7 on home ice. There was and that was because I remember when they won that cup in 20, like, you never know where a road is going to take you.
Mhm.
But in the case of that team, did the victory taste that much sweeter because of the route they had to take to get there, because of the disappointment that you had to taste along the way? Did it make it that much more sweeter for that championship? And I know it was an odd one, right? Everything in the bubble, have to move from
Mhm.
Toronto to Edmonton, and 40 whatever straight days of basically in isolation with the same 25 people around you all the time. It was different. Um, but I think that path that led them to that championship felt that way. And I think it felt that way for the fans too, right? Like, man, I thought we were a good team. How can they do this? And then you get to the top, and then you get to the top again the year after. It's, it doesn't happen very often in pro sports. I know the Panthers just did it. Certainly the Penguins did it in 17 and 18 as well. So we've seen it maybe a little bit more than we thought we would in a salary cap era, especially. But I think that those 2 championships just tasted sweeter for anybody and everybody that's involved with this franchise, whether you're a fan, whether you're in the front office, whether you're in the ticket sales department, whatever it is. It just had a different type of feeling because of the route they had to take to get to those 2 championships.
And so for you personally, what was it like to cover the team during those 2 Stanley Cups? Like, I could only imagine it was just, eventful every single game and just full of emotion.
Well, I remember game 1 against Columbus in 2020. Game started at 3:00, and there at 11:00, we still were watching the same game take place. I can't imagine what that would have been like if it was not COVID time, right? If that took place with fans in the building, and what that would have looked like and felt like. And thank God that game started at 3:00 in the afternoon. Can you imagine if that was a 7:00 start? We'd have been up to like 4:00 in the morning playing the same game. It would have been absolutely nuts. So that was a weird one, especially not being there. Only a couple of people in the building itself. I know there were some media members that were allowed upstairs to kind of be, but they had to be away from each other. So the atmosphere was so much different. But the Zoom calls, I mean, those post-game Zoom calls will forever be etched, I think, in the memory to anybody who covered a team or a playoffs or anything else during those 2 years, especially because in 21, it was still just the Zoom calls, right? We weren't allowed in the locker rooms. We weren't allowed to talk to players face to face. So everything was done in that manner, which was a challenge from a media standpoint because, you don't get the alone time. You don't get the one-on-one time to kind of forge relationships and maybe get a little bit better insight that maybe you can't get in a public setting, where you've got
Mhm.
4, 5, 6, 7 different people sometimes or more on these Zoom calls. So it was a challenge during that time. But the 21 in particular, because there were fans allowed in the building by the time they got to the championship, and they were able to lift the cup in front of some home fans, but we still were not able to talk to them. So we had to do these these post-game Zoom calls after they won a championship again. But of course, that led us to perhaps one of the greatest things in Lightning history was Nikita Kucherov's epic post-game Zoom call championship, where they made T-shirts, the number one BS T-shirts that were going on around town, and he kind of became a different type of personality after that one. So it led to all that, but it was certainly big time challenges for us in the media to kind of bring stories and bring those type of stories to fans, to readers, to anybody that followed the sport. So that's what I remember most about those two championship years. Obviously, winning the cup was paramount, but the manner in which we had to tell stories was definitely a lot different than we've ever had to deal with since, or even before that.
Yeah, for sure. Switching kind of routes here. Last year, Steven Stamkos leaves the Tampa Bay Lightning. I've read your pieces on that, but I kind of wanted you to just shine some light here for our viewers, like just what it was like having him there for all those years, and then just how it all kind of crashed down is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Um, for me, from a personal standpoint, I had the opportunity to go up and meet Stamkos and his family before the draft in 2008. Right, it was still at the paper. Spent some time up there. Was actually able to spend 3-4 hours with the family at their house, and learning more about Steven and who he was as a then 18-year-old. Got to spend some time in Sarnia with this, the former general manager when he was with the Sting. I spent a couple of hours talking to him, and so I got to learn so much more about him. So I had a little bit of a different relationship, I think, with him through the years. As best as you can between media and players nowadays, there's always such a wall that's kind of put up between the two sides that maybe wasn't there 25 years ago. But he meant, like, he was the face of the franchise for 20 years almost, right? You go from 2008 to 2024. And the way that he identified with the fan base, the way, and there was a reason why he was always on camera, because he was so articulate and so, well thought out. He didn't talk in cliches. He gave you straight answers, right? Like, he was so good in his dealings with us. And I think that message always came across to the fans, which at the end of the day, us and the media are the conduit between the two, right? We're the ones that kind of can ask those questions that maybe fans want to ask or fans think should be asked. And we have that opportunity to do it. But you think of the trials and tribulations that he had to go through to get to that championship in 20, right? The broken leg in 2014, the blood clot that kept him out of most of the playoffs in 2018. He was even injured right before COVID hit in 2020, and he didn't get he couldn't get the right kind of treatment during that time. That's why he ended up re-injuring himself once the teams all came back. And the goal he scored in Game 3 against Dallas, and an iconic moment in hockey history to score that goal, and then for him to be able to contribute on a team that won in 21, that meant so much more for him, I think, because he couldn't really contribute to that team in 20 because he was injured. He actually left the bubble for a short period of time. If people have read my website, they know that him and his wife went through a miscarriage situation during that 2020 bubble. He actually left the team for a few weeks before going back to rejoin them and get ready for the conference finals and getting to play in the Stanley Cup Finals. So for him to win it in 21, it meant more for him. It felt like unfinished business for him because he was more of a contributor. His drive in 22 led them. Really, he pushed them hard to get back to the Cup final. His his goal against the Rangers in Game 6 after the Rangers tied it, he scores on the next shift to put them back ahead in the clinching game.
Mm-hmm.
He meant so much in leadership and on ice performance, and off ice, his work in the community, and the face of it. So for things to end the way that they did, and he was arguably their best player in the playoffs in 24 against the Panthers. Now, they lost in 5 games. It wasn't necessarily that close in that series against Florida, but he was easily their best player. And we all thought, of course they're going to sign him. It's Steven Stamkos, right?
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to get it done. He's going to take a little bit of a home team discount. He's going to want to stay. He wants to say he doesn't want to leave. Julian came out the day after their season ended and said, we've begun discussions. So we thought, okay, great. This is all going to work out. And what should be is going to be an iconic franchise player is going to finish his career with one franchise. And then there weren't any discussions. There weren't any conversations. There were late talks. And you could just see the pull apart more so from the team than the player himself, because in his post signing with Nashville, what he talked about, it's like you're trying to hang on to somebody that doesn't want to hang on to you, and that's kind of how he felt towards the end. And it was just, I think it was a sad day for the franchise because he meant so much, and so many people identify with him as a player, as a leader, as a captain. So for it to all kind of break down the way it did, he ends up in Nashville. He had a rough first half of the year, as did the Predators this year. He had a better second half. We'll see what this half brings. I still think that deep down inside, he wants to come back. I think he would do just about anything to come back. And it just hasn't worked out that way. And it's tough. We see Ovechkin finishing his career in Washington, and some other players are going to end up playing their iconic careers with the same franchise. We all thought that was going to happen with him, and it just didn't. And it's too bad it worked out that way, because selfishly, us in the media loved having Steven Stamkos in the locker room, because even just holding a "Hey, how you doing" type conversation, he was always willing to kind of talk to you and just say hi and cared about you. And it's a little different than a lot. Like I said, there's such a wall between the media and players nowadays that that guard is always up. And it just felt like with him, he understood his role and played it very well on and off the ice. And for him to be in Nashville and not finish his career in Tampa Bay, it's tough. It's tough to continue to see, and it'll be tough whatever day he tends to hang up the skates. His number will go on the rafters. He'll be in the Lightning Hall of Fame. He'll be in the Hall of Fame as well. But it's just sad that it's not going to finish with just one franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, he's a legend there in Tampa for sure. Nikita Kucherov just won another Art Ross trophy. He's obviously the offensive engine of that Tampa Bay Lightning team. How has he kind of transitioned without Stamkos? Obviously, he did just fine this year, but how do you kind of feel he's taken on? Has he taken on a new leadership role or anything like that?
Well, he's definitely taken on new leadership. He wore an A on his chest all year, which is the first time that happened in his career. His off-season stuff is really starting to become much more publicized and well-known, even this year, right? Talking to him, and look, he's not the most open guy in the world. He is not Steven Stamkos when it comes to dealing with the media, and that's fine. I mean, he is who he is, and that's great. That's we wish he was more open, but his talking takes place on the ice. But he was pretty open after the season ended this year, and basically he was back on the ice a week after the season was over, right? Like, this is a guy who custom built a half sheet of synthetic ice in his garage so he can work on stuff in the summer. And, we call it Camp Kucherov because, anybody's familiar with captain skates that happened during the summer and certainly leading up to the opening of training camp. There is a huge difference in Tampa between captain skates and Camp Kucherov, because you show up for Camp Kucherov, you better come ready to work. It's not, hey, let's just kind of get together, play some shinny and, shoot the puck around. No, you are working with Nikita Kucherov. And I think that's where a lot of the leadership comes, because he's not the most outspoken guy. Even in the room, he'll stand up, or, he'll say what needs to be said sometimes, but he's, as we know, he's kind of a quiet guy. When he hasn't just come off a championship, post game Zoom call. But he has taken on that level of leadership by example. And, I remember even having a conversation with Gage Gonsalves this year. And, Gage, this was, I think, right before the playoffs started. And I was asking him about Kucherov. And he knows about the offseason workouts of Kucherov. And he's like, man, I hope I can get a contract done in a timely enough manner, because I want to go work out with him. I want to go get on the ice with him during the summer and just pick his brain and, look at what he did and see what he did. And, how does he think the game? I mean, there are very few players who think the game the way Nikita Kucherov does. There are other players who, think at a different level than him, but nobody thinks higher in terms of the way the game is played than Kucherov. Because, I say this, I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,001 here. He's a subtle, brilliant player, right? We watch McDavid, we watch McKinnon, and the pace of play and the things that they can do at the rate of speed they play the game at is incredible. It's something we've really never seen, and probably the only comparison is Bobby Orr, and the way that Bobby Orr could skate in his era compared to everybody else. McDavid and McKinnon particularly are kind of, I'm not going to put them in that same concept, but you think about the way players play the game today and what they're able to do at the rate of speed they can do it is incredible, and it jumps off the page at you, right?
Yeah.
What Kucherov does is you have to stop and you go, did I see that? Did he actually do that? Because you have to slow it down to look at it and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe he did it. I remember when he pulled out the no shot on the shootout, right? He pulled it off in Buffalo the first time. And Brian Engblom, the color commentator here on the TV broadcast, listening to him, he's like, he did not just do that. He did not just do that. But you had to go back and look at it to say, oh my, he actually did. He completely faked out the goalie. I think it was Robin Lehner. I could be wrong who it was the first time he pulled that off on. But you had to go back and watch it. The play in the 2020 playoffs against the Islanders. And again, nobody would think to do this. He has a puck coming towards him. He's at center ice. He just subtly turns over the blade of his stick. The puck ramps off of it right into the path of Braden Point. And at real speed, you're like, oh, there's no way he did that. But you go back and look at the replay and watch it slow down. You're like, how does anybody even think to do that, let alone execute it? And he does it. And, his ability to pull pucks off the wall and make quick plays is just unmatched, I think, in a lot of ways in today's game. He's just a brilliant, brilliant type of player who probably doesn't get appreciated for the kind of game he has because it's not a loud game. McKinnon, McDavid, right. They have loud games where you watch it at real speed and you're wowed by it. Kucherov plays a quiet game. That's why I say he's a subtle assassin, because before you know it, the puck's in the back of the net because he made some brilliant play 3 seconds before that led up to it. And he's been a joy to watch and grow and develop. When he first came up in 2014, he actually was called up from the AHL after Steven Stamkos broke his leg. He was a healthy scratch down the stretch, right? He didn't play in every playoff game against Montreal that year. He was actually a healthy scratch in the playoffs because he had to learn other parts of the game. The offensive brilliance was there, but he had to learn the other parts of the game. And now he's one of the guys that John Cooper will send out to help protect leads late in games. Leadership has developed to where it is now. A couple of Ted Lindsay awards. I mean, that's the big thing, right? How the players feel and look at him. And in a year like this, he was voted as yes. the Lindsay Award winner, right? So he's overlooked, I think, by the flashiness of some of the other great players in this game, but he is right there on our level, just in different ways.
What do you think the expectation is for Tampa this season?
I know internally they still have a strong belief because they didn't make many moves in the offseason, right? They let
Yep.
go, let Nick Pervix went to free agency, and Cam Atkinson left. And but for the most part, they brought back the same group. Luke Glendening still out there as a free agent. They bring in Pontus Holmberg to kind of fill that role. But they believe with the numbers that they put up last year, they led the league in scoring. They improved from 23rd to 6th overall in defense. Their 5-on-5 play, I think they were minus 46 in goal differential 2 years ago. Last year, they were like plus 25. So you look at the big turnaround in their 5-on-5 play. Their special teams numbers were good. Even though the power play was inconsistent, it still finished at 25%. I think they finished 5th in the league in power. So, the way that they view things, and especially in an analytical world, even in hockey nowadays, they believed in the way in which they got to their number 2 spot in the Atlantic Division. Didn't work out for them against Florida. They felt that they matched up well with Florida, but losing Oliver Bjorkstrand before the end of the season, he wasn't able to play in the playoffs. The whole Hagel-Barkov hit, the suspension, and the Ekblad hit on Hagel that knocked him out and, kept him from being a contributor. He's a 90-point player. You take him out of the lineup. Florida kind of ran roughshod over them a little bit in that series. So those numbers didn't translate to that series against the Panthers, but they still believe. And I think if they ran into anybody else, if they faced Toronto in the first round, if they finished first and they got Ottawa in the first round, we might be talking about a different story, because we all felt, I think a lot of us anyway, that whoever won that Florida-Tampa Bay series was probably going to go on to at least get to the Stanley Cup final, if not win it. And as it turned out, Florida did, and they did. So they believe in the group that they have. We'll see how they adjust to life without Jeff Blashill, who left as an assistant coach to take over in Chicago. So Dan Heinoke comes in and takes his role, and we'll see what the system looks like, if they can make improvements within the system. But they believe they're a cup contending team. They believe that their window is still open, even while many others think, well, 3 straight first-round playoff exits, maybe the window is closing. And, the way that I look at it from my standpoint, this is not Pittsburgh, where Malkin and Letang and Crosby and their main core was all at the same point in time in their career. Yeah. Kucherov is 32. I think Vasilevsky will be 31. I think Braden Point is about to turn 30. But Brandon Hagel's 26, right? Hedman's 33. I think McDonough's 33. He's in that same age. So, some of their big-name players and their big-minute guys are a little bit old. But Anthony Cirelli's 27 years old. J.J. Moser, who they brought in from Arizona/Utah, is 24 years old, 25 years old. So they still have good young players, while their elite players are still performing at elite levels, even at the point in time they are at in their career. So if that can continue, they fully believe that they can be a contending team once again this year, even as the division has improved. I think the Atlantic is big time improved, especially after Ottawa and Montreal got that taste of the playoffs last year with the players that they have. So it'll be harder, I think, to get out of the division. I still think the Atlantic will probably put 5 in the playoffs once again this year, but I think Tampa will be at or near the top of the division standings, as long as the guy in net, Vasilevsky, stays healthy and plays at the level he played at last year. They're going to have a chance.
All right, Eric, a couple fun ones for you as we kind of wind this down. If you could pick any Bolt from any era to play on the back-to-back championship teams, who would you pick?
It's an excellent question. From any era. I'm terrible at thinking things up on the spot, so I'm going to talk my way through this a little bit. It's probably too easy to say, but Marty, right? Now, I know Marty played with some of those guys, and he actually helped bring Palat and Johnson along for a little bit to help turn them into the players they were. But, Marty 2004, 2005, the guy that played with that big chip on his shoulder from being told he was too small, you can't play in the NHL, you have to be a fourth liner, and he turned himself into, that type of a player. His drive, his competitiveness, I mean, his ping pong games before that they would do in the locker room are things of legend around the arena, because he was so competitive and that drive was so strong to prove everybody wrong. I think he would have his presence, I think, even on that 15 team, the team that the Lightning beat the Rangers and Marty in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think even that 15 team with an 04 era Marty St. Louis probably could have driven them and guided them and pushed them to limits that maybe they didn't know they were capable of. So from that aspect, I think Marty, Randy says Vinny, and certainly Vinny would have been a good fit. He's such a monster player with the size and the skill that he had, would have fit in with that team. But I just think the intangible parts of a Marty St. Louis would have been something that pushed whatever players were around him to a higher level. And who knows, they might have won 3 straight championships, and they might have won 4 in 6 years.
Yeah. Oh, with a guy like him on that team, you could only dream what could have happened. What is your favorite jersey that the Tampa Bay Lightning have ever worn?
Oh, I'm not a big jersey guy.
Okay, no, all right.
That's all right. I'll answer it. You know what? The Stadium Series jerseys from Nashville.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy about them when I saw them revealed, but then you see them up close. You're like, okay, I get it. I those kind of grew on me, but the ones that popped on me were they call them the Ignite the Night jerseys that were the black kind of heathered type jerseys. Now they sucked for the broadcasters because they couldn't read the numbers. And I think from a distance, I don't think that those jerseys got the justice it deserved. When you saw those things up close, they did really pop to the eye to you, because it's just that, like, I'm a big heather color guy. Like I have a heather gray, heather blue jersey shirt on right now. I like the heather stuff. So that kind of had that feel for me. But I liked everything about that jersey. It's just, it didn't fit because the broadcasters couldn't see the numbers. They couldn't, they had some problem. They changed the lighting. They did all this work designing these jerseys and tested them on the lighting inside the arena. And then they changed the lighting. So they weren't tested with the new lighting. They didn't work out very well. So they kind of flopped in a lot of ways. But those, I think, the Stadium Series jerseys and those Ignite the Night ones were good for me.
I love those Ignite the Night, or however you said that. I love those ones. Mouthful there. Just one more thing here before I let you go. Where can everybody find your work?
Yeah, the website is lightninginsider.com. Pretty simple to find. The site crashed 2 years ago. I was able to have somebody rebuild it for me, actually find and pull from the archive. I don't know how in the world he was able to do it, but he was able to find everything. So most of everything that I've written since 17, when the site originally launched, is still around. It's still there. But that's a website. It's much more streamlined now. It's much easier to navigate and deal with. So lightninginsider.com, there's 2 ways. There's a monthly plan and there's a yearly plan as well. The Steven Stamkos stuff that I mentioned from 2020, there's some great insight from that, beyond the heartbreak that him and his wife dealt with. There's a great story about him and his teammates who didn't play, who were dressed in case they won Game 5 that went to double overtime, and how they had to hide in the showers between the first and second overtime intermissions because they didn't want to be dressed while everybody else was coming in. So they had to hide themselves in case they won. So there's some great stuff from Steven that's still there. You can still find that stuff on the website. And, I still do some stuff for the Lightning radio broadcast as well. So people can find me and listen to me there as well. So, but the website is the main thing. It's lightninginsider.com. Yearly plan is $40 and a monthly plan is $4.99.
Awesome. You do fantastic work, Erik. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Colton, thanks for inviting me on. This was a great conversation, and have me back anytime.
Awesome. Thanks. That was Erik Erlendsson, the Tampa Bay Lightning insider. Fantastic stuff there. I've always wanted to chat with him and kind of pick his brain on the Lightning stuff. I was big into reading his work during COVID and during those down years, I guess you could say. We got an interview with Josh Lawrence here. I'm gonna pop it up. Josh, of course, as I had mentioned off the top, former Quebec Major Junior Hockey League player, played for the St. John Sea Dogs and the Halifax Mooseheads. He had a brief stint with Blainville as well. Josh was nice enough to join us yesterday for half an hour. We chatted with him about his time overseas, playing in Switzerland and playing in Finland. He is headed to go play for HC Lada Togliatti in the KHL this year. So we had him on, chatted with him, and it went great. So we will throw it to the Josh Lawrence interview now.
Everyone, welcome to GDT Live, another episode. Today, Josh Lawrence is joining us, former QMJHLer, fellow Maritimer. I don't get many of those on the show. It's the first one ever, so welcome in, Josh.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's go back to the QMJHL days, where you started it all off in St. John, not far from where you're from. How was that, and what was it like in the 2021 season getting to play under Gardner McDougall?
Yeah, I know it was that was obviously a crazy experience. Obviously, being from Fredericton, New Brunswick, I knew a lot about Gardner. He coached me a lot growing up, like at camps, UMB camps, Sunday morning skates, and I was really familiar with him. And then obviously, when he coached me with the Morale Cup, it's a great experience, and it was something I'll never forget. And obviously now, I think everyone from the hockey world is starting to get to know Gardner like we all do in New Brunswick. So it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, I guess you probably would have been down at the Aitken Center a lot watching some varsity Reds games, right?
Oh, yeah. I was a big UMB fan growing up, go to a lot of games, a lot of the players, love watching a lot of the players, and was a big fan. That was like our junior team in Fredericton, and we love the Reds here. And obviously he's really big in the community, so he run a lot of like skates for kids and a lot of pumpernickel camps and UMB Reds stuff. So it was awesome, and I know him very well.
Now, I kind of want to jump to your Halifax days. That's where I really got to know you. Obviously, I'm from the Valley, not too far from Halifax, so that 2023 season was pretty special. You came over. You ended up putting up 50 points or 50 goals that season. What can you say about that season alone in your 20age season?
Yeah, no, that was obviously a really good spot to finish my junior career in Halifax. Obviously, it's like a top-notch organization. A lot of really good players were there, good coaches. It was just a great organization, and the city itself is a big hockey city. So obviously, you know that about Halifax. It's a really great place to play junior hockey. I really, really enjoyed my time there. And yeah, when I got traded there, I think it was like early November. I was just so excited for the opportunity with kind of like an up and coming team in Halifax, and it was it was a great opportunity to play with some of the really good players that I got to play with.
Yeah, well, you said up and coming, but I think once they got you and then they got Doucette around Christmas time, that kind of really changed the way that the team was going and took you to the playoffs. And that's where I want to jump in about the Sherbrooke series. You guys were down 0-2 and come back and win 4 straight. Can you take me through that series? I asked Brady Schultz about this when we had him on, and he took us through the series in his eyes, but I wanted to know what it was like because you were playing against guys like Cole Hawkins, a Fredericton guy on the other side in Sherbrooke. What was it like?
No, yeah, it was obviously a great series. Yeah, I remember. Once we after the trade deadline, we went on a bit of a run there, and we had a lot of confidence going into the playoffs. A really good group of guys, really close, and I remember the first 2 series went pretty smooth. I think we maybe lost 1 game, but other than that, we did really, really well. And then that game for Sherbrooke, that series, we faced like a lot of adversity there in the first 2 games. I remember we were at home too, so they came in our building and like kind of beat us around there. We lost our best player, Jordan Dumais, our leading scorer, and it kind of seemed like the series was over, but I don't know. I think a lot of people might have counted us out, but I think we kind of stuck together, and we clawed our way back. It was kind of like one of those like fairy tale runs where I don't know if we play them again. I don't know if we win, but they were a really, really strong team over there. But we just came together at the right time, and it was a great series. I remember Russo was stood on his head. He was really good. We had a lot of players stepping up, like Zach Leroux, Alex Doucette, Jake Furlong was unbelievable. We had like a lot of really, really good players stepping up, and we had contributions from everyone. It was just it was a really great series. I think people following along too in Halifax were really supportive, and I think just finishing out in the 6th game too was just icing on the cake, and it was also gave me pretty good bragging rights over Cole, so yeah, it all worked out.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there. Mathis Rousseau definitely played some pretty good hockey.
Yeah.
Do you think you get there without his play?
No, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things had to go right there for us to win that series. I think I don't know if they lost too many games at home all year, so to beat them like three games in a row at home and then once for us at home, it was definitely crazy. I think we had a lot of momentum too, and we just stuck together, and we had a lot of things go right for us, and it was one of those things that I'll probably never forget, just that series. Even though we ended up losing in the finals, I think that it was just a once in a lifetime opportunity experience, and it was just a great, especially in Halifax, just a crazy atmosphere, and it was awesome.
One more question for me about that season. I want to ask you about like the trio, you, Doucette, and Dumais. You guys all put up 50 goals or more, and you were all awarded at the end of the season. How much work did it take to put up 50 goals in the queue, and what did it feel like to get rewarded like that?
Yeah, it's definitely a great moment for myself and the rest of us. I think we had like a lot of really, really good players there in Halifax, and obviously our coach Sly was a big help as well. And just the way we play, we had a really offensive team. We played really fast, kind of like towards like the modern NHL. We were just a really quick puck moving team, and we had so many great players up and down the lineup to play with, because we actually rarely really played together. It was always mostly split up, and it was just a great. Yeah, I don't know if they'll probably like, it was one of those things where I think it was just everything had to line up good, and we had some really good chemistry, really good team, and it was really exciting that we all got it. I think we all knew Doucette was going to get 50 goals pretty early on, but then for me and the Doomer to get it was pretty special.
What was Zach Leroux's mustard thing all about? He had kept a bottle of mustard on the bench.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was funny. He's just such a character. Everyone he's like the best team. Everyone loves that guy. He was actually my roommate too on the road, so we would have a pretty good time and get to know each other well. And he was. I remember I was sitting beside him on the bench, and then he always does like some like little things that are a little different on the bench. And I remember one time he just pulled out a bottle of mustard, started just dumping it on the bench. It was hilarious. Then after that, they got on the camera. I think he was loving it, like trying to get like maybe an ad or something. But it was crazy. All of his antics and stuff were awesome. Just like such a good guy. Such like a glue guy too. And just I guess it's supposed to help for cramps, but I think it was good. Whatever works, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. He was an energy guy for sure. Definitely a wrecking ball out there too. Yeah. I remember when it was game 5, I think, at home against Sherbrooke, or no, game 6 at home against Sherbrooke, because they were the top seed. No, you were the top.
Game, yeah, I think game 5. Yeah.
Game 5, yeah. Zach Leroux stepped into Jacob Melanson, open eyes, just rocked him, and from right there, I was like, "Oh, this series is like, there's no way they lose this."
Yeah, no, there was a lot of moments like that where he would just do something like that where you're just like, wow, this guy's just in the wrong league right now. Like, like that was one. I remember that was right in front of our bench. That was probably one of the biggest hits I've ever seen. Like, such a big guy, and both of them are just big boys. And he would, Leroux would never back down from anybody. So, it was. There's a lot of moments like that where you're just like, wow, this guy's a really, really good player.
Hey, Josh, I want to go back to the Memorial Cup for a second. What was that like for you winning that, especially on home ice?
Yeah, no, that was also like a unbelievable experience. Seeing St. John, like the city, like that. I have like a bunch of friends from St. John as well who say like that was like the most alive the city's ever been those couple of weeks, and the city really got behind the team, and be able to play against those other top teams from around the country. It was a great experience, and the way we came together, it was something I'll never forget. And we had a really good team, really close team. But I just remember just how the city supported us and how loud that building got. It was just a great opportunity, especially in New Brunswick and St. John, where like a lot, there's not a lot going on always. So it was a really great opportunity, and I think the city really really embraced us. It was awesome.
What would you say is your favorite jersey that you wore with St. John?
Favorite? Yeah, one comes to mind, and we love like the black. I don't know, the blackout. Like we'd have like black jersey, black pants, black helmet, black gloves. Those were good. I remember we had like a bit of a winning streak with those one year. We're like, we got to wear these every game. We love the blackout jerseys. That's
Is that the one? Is that the one with the words? It just says like St. John in lettering.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I think that might be I can't
But
remember
that's
if
the
it's
old
original.
one, I think.
Yeah, maybe I made the old one, but yeah, I just remember the all blacks. We love like that was my favorite too. This all black. It was good.
Have you seen the rebrand? Because they just got a new logo and jerseys this summer.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, I like it. It's good. It's a good change. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Definitely. Let's switch
What do you?
Sorry, Colton. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Colton.
just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask one more thing here. How do you feel about the NCAA rule change? And would that have been something that you would have considered at the time when you were in junior? Because I know your brother's down in the USHL and he's committed to Boston University. What would that path maybe have been like for you in a hypothetical world?
Yeah, I think the rule change is like great stuff for everybody. I think it's like a win-win. I always thought, at 16 years old, making the decision, like if you want to play Q or if you want to play college was kind of silly. Such a like big. I never really understood why you couldn't do both, and I think this is a great opportunity for the players. I love when the players have a lot of decisions and power, and like before, kind of if you got drafted to a team that you had to play for them, and now you can go anywhere, and especially in college hockey, if you went to a school and you didn't like it your first year, you're kind of stuck there for 4 years. Now you can go somewhere else. So I like the players having a lot of options, and I think it should be really interesting to see what happens. I know like it's getting a little crazy, a lot of transfers and players going all over the place, but I think it's obviously great, and gives players too like a longer time to decide if they want to play college or junior or do both. So it's I think it's great.
How would you say that the Q as a league kind of shaped your identity in your game?
Yeah, I think obviously playing in the Q was a great experience. Kind of like play a lot of games, kind of like 68 games I think we played. I might be a little less now, but it was really good. I met a lot of really good players. Met a lot of really good friends, and I really enjoyed my time in the Q, and it was awesome.
Josh, let's switch to the European side now. I know you've played the last couple of seasons in Europe, and after the season in Halifax, you signed and you played in Winterthur. Am I saying that correctly? Yeah. I also saw you got to wear the leading scorer jersey a little bit. What's it like playing in Switzerland, a new environment? What was that all like in your first year?
Yeah, it was obviously it was a great experience. Nothing I really have ever been through before. Like a lot of big culture shocks going to Switzerland, but it was a really good experience. I love my time in Winterthur. It's a lot. I'd say it's a little different than Canada, and it was obviously that was some stuff like that where I was wearing like the top scorer helmet and jersey. You're not even wearing like the same helmet or jersey as your teammates. It's just like some stuff like that is just a little bit weird, not really used to. Maybe a little bit bigger tiger on your back too, but It was obviously, I loved it. It was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. I think I got a lot better um, playing like pro hockey, and it's really cool too to see like different parts of the world and experience that. So yeah, it's been really good so far.
Now, like the town you guys were living in, was it like way up in the mountains or like just a normal like?
Yeah, I was there 2 years. So my first year, I was like pretty close to Zurich, kind of like it's like a big city feel. It's kind of like mountains everywhere in Switzerland. It's just normal for them, but like it was really beautiful. Like everywhere as you go, like nice lakes and big mountains. And then my second year, I was in like Sierre, and that's kind of in the Swiss Alps, where like it's more like country, and we're like up on mountain, and there's mountains everywhere. It's pretty close to like the Swiss Alps. It's basically in the Swiss Alps, and that was really cool. And yeah, it's crazy in Switzerland too. Like you can drive like 3 hours and go from like the German part to the French part to the Italian part. So it's kind of like a lot of different areas all in one. So it's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. When I was like 16, I went and did like an exhibition tour over there, played a couple games in like your Austria, Germany, and Italy.
Yeah.
And we went from Germany, Italy to Austria in the same day by bus. So I was like, that's
Yeah.
great.
Oh yeah. Everything's
So
really close. There's actually one lake that I went on. I think Lake Como maybe, or one of the lakes. It touches like Switzerland, Germany, and Austria all the same
holy
lakes.
crap.
It's like everything's so close.
Let's go to Liga for a second. You played with the Pelicans and Lati. What was that like?
Yeah, that was also like a really cool experience. They take hockey over in Finland like really serious, and they're very passionate about it. Pretty similar to like Canada, whereas Switzerland was a little less. But yeah, Finland was awesome. It was a top league. Kind of joined the team halfway through the season, so that was a little difficult, and I think our team kind of had like really big expectations, and then didn't do so well. So that was kind of tough, but it was a really good experience. I met like a lot of really cool people, and the hockey was really good. So as well, I was just living in Finland too. It was just a really cool life experience, and yeah, I had a lot of fun.
What was your highlight of playing in Switzerland? Like, what was like you got a highlight reel goal that you scored that you can kind of think back on or anything like that?
I think my highlight probably in Switzerland was my first year in Switzerland. I joined the team Winterthur, like you said, like they had never made playoffs before, and they had kind of always been like the worst team or the second worst team in the league, and we just had like a really good group of guys, and me and the other played really well together, and we ended up making playoffs for the first time ever in their club's history. And it was like I remember that game when we ended up clutching playoffs that they like sold out the game. They never ever sold out the game before. It was like they won the Stanley Cup for them. It was like crazy celebrations, and it was pretty cool to see because it was like a low budget team, and to see everyone how happy. There's people there for like 20 years who've never seen a playoff game, so they were really excited about that. That was probably my highlight. And then also in that when we went to the playoffs, we played like the top seed, and we ended up beating them a couple times. So that was also pretty cool for the team and the club, and that was a great experience.
Can you kind of like walk me through how a transition goes from going from Switzerland to Finland? Like, is it your agent that kind of approaches you? Is it you that approaches your agent? Kind of, how does that all work?
Yeah, it was I had a good opportunity, to join to join the Liga, like a top league in Europe, and it was pretty crazy. I kind of found out I was going to Finland. Can't remember. It was like it might have been like a Tuesday night, and then I remember I had a game to be at Thursday night, Thursday night. So I jumped on a train Wednesday morning for like 4 hours, flew from like Switzerland to Finland, got there at like 1 a.m. and then I took a bus next day and played that night 4 hours away in Finland. So that was a pretty crazy experience. put like a back-to-back, so I was pretty tired for that. But yeah, I think over in Europe it's kind of crazy. There's a lot of people like going from league to league and switching teams, and there's like there's like deadlines over in Europe where like teams are looking to get better and teams are looking to like get rid of some money, and it's like so a whole different world over in Europe. It's like the Wild West over there. So it was a good opportunity for me. I was joining a team in Pelicans where they were ranked first. They were actually ranked to be first before I got like for preseason rankings. And then when I ended up joining them, they're like in last place. So it was kind of like they're looking for a big jump, like a boost to try and get back in the playoffs. So yeah, that was a crazy experience. So something that probably would never, not really normal in North America, but it was good.
Oh,
Let's talk about this switch, Josh. Did you ever think when you were like 14, 15, Josh Lawrence from Fredericton, New Brunswick would ever be playing in the KHL?
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it's definitely crazy to think about. It's a really, really good opportunity to play in a top league, and that's kind of what I've been working towards. And I'm really looking forward to show everyone what I can do in the KHL. And like I said, I leave Thursday, so gonna be really excited to get going, get into training camp, and start the season off on a good note.
Yeah, I actually want to ask you about that. What's your like travel plans like? How long of a flight is it? I would assume it's like 2 or 3 flights.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad. The team, they got me to fly. So I fly out of Fredericton to Montreal, and then I stay the night in Montreal. And the next day, I just take like a 12-hour flight. I think Montreal to Dubai, and then Dubai right to where I play in Russia. So
Dubai.
not too bad at all. Yeah, pretty direct flight. So I was really lucky that way, and just really excited. Also, I'm going over with like my old teammate in St. John, like William Dufour. So that'll be a really good experience.
We were just going to ask you about that. Because that was something we wanted to touch on. William Dufour. Were you guys like talking before this all happened? Was this kind of like a thing like, hey, Will, I might be playing over in the KHL?
Yeah. No, yeah. We were talking about it. We obviously had really good chemistry in St. John. We played together that full year, and he obviously had like a ton of goals. He might have had the most goals in CHL that year, and he was like Mem Cup MVP. So we always played good together, like playmaker, and he's a goal scorer. And so when I signed over in the KHL, they were kind of asking about guys who might want to come play or guys and I thought I would like reach out to Will and see if he would be interested in playing in the KHL, and he was really excited. I thought of us coming to play together again, and it's a good opportunity for him too to have a good year and see what happens. So we both kind of worked out really well for both of us. We're gonna get a chance to play together, and also it's good when you know someone. Obviously, going to a different country, it'll be like Will's first time coming over to Europe, so it'll be good. I can help him out a bit, and I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Have you learned any Russian? Have you taken up any chances to look at any words or anything?
No, not yet. I'll probably get the Duolingo going here in a couple of days. Probably do that on my flight. Get the Duolingo going, but I'll have to learn some words. But around the rink and everything, it's all English, so I'm not really worried about that. But I'll wait for the rink. Yeah, I'll definitely get the Duolingo going.
In the rink, though, I saw this kind of like brings me back to when Rod Brindamore brought Andrei Nikishin over to the Canes, and he was like, "You talk hockey, you know hockey." Is that kind of like a thing over in Europe when you're playing in Finland and you're like, "What are these guys saying?" But like at least it's hockey, right? You know hockey.
Yeah, no, it's really similar to that. Yeah, that was like a really funny video, but I think most guys actually they. Especially in like coaches and players, they know English just because it's kind of like the NHL. Like a lot of them aspire to be in the NHL one day, so they want to know English and speak English for when they get a chance maybe to play in the NHL. And it's never really been an issue. around the rink. So it's good.
One last one for me, Josh. Playing in Europe, there's definitely been some crazy rinks. What's the most unique thing you've seen inside a hockey rink in Europe?
Yeah, there's a few things I've seen, especially in the Swiss league. I think the fans are really crazy. The fans are really, really passionate over in Europe. They like cheer the whole entire game. They stand up the whole game. It's like kind of like a soccer atmosphere, which is like really, really cool. Crazy, like the fan. Yeah, I think the fans, they really get into it. Like had like multiple fans flip me off and like scream at me, and they're really, really passionate. And then also, like I've seen, like I play in a couple rinks where it's like, or just one, but it was like half inside, half outside. So it was like kind of like there's only like a roof on half of the rink, and then it was kind of like outdoors, kind of set up there. Yeah, that's probably the two craziest I can think of. They also love like to get the big signs going where they have like, it'll take up like half the rink. It'll be like a sign that says like something crazy in another language I don't even know, but they love that too.
Did the guy flip you off when you were wearing the top scorer jersey after you scored a big goal or something?
Yeah, oh yeah, like I've probably been flipped off like at least 30 times. Like 4 or 5 of them will get. I think they also serve a lot of beer there, so I think some of
Oh
the
yeah.
fans are a little tipsy, and then they start going a little nuts. Especially like some of those rinks too, they're like right on top of you, where like they're like leaning over the bench, like on top of you, like just flipping you off, and they really love it.
Do you remember Andrew Ference when he was playing for the Bruins and they were playing in
Yeah.
Montreal and just got to pull one of those?
Yeah, I was thinking about that honestly, but someone actually did that in my league this year, and they got like 3 game suspension. So
Yeah, probably not a good look.
yeah, that would be funny though.
Anything else from you, Colton?
Yeah, I kind of want you to talk a little bit about your younger brother. He's obviously
Yeah.
a top prospect. We touched on it a little earlier, going to BU in 2026, 27, I believe it is. What can you kind of say about Tynan and where his development is going, and just how much of a breakout star he's been in the USHL?
And how much of it did you teach him?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he obviously had a really, really good year this year in Muskegon, and he loves it there. They treat him really well, and obviously I've seen, all of the work he's put in, and the hours, and he's earned everything he's gotten so far, and I'm really excited to see what he does this year, and yeah, he's we train and we skate together all the time, and exchange ideas and talk throughout the season. So it's always nice to have someone who who's going through a lot of the same stuff that I've been through, and it's nice to bounce off the ideas of each other. And he had a really good year there in the playoffs, and was lucky enough to win and get MVP. So I was really happy for him, and looking forward to what he does this year. And I know he's really excited for that Halinka tryouts coming up. So that'd be really good. We're both starting to pick it up and train really hard and skate really hard, getting ready for that. He leaves around the same time I would leave to go to the KHL for that camp. So it's lining up pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, that's good that you guys can kind of work out together and kind of bounce off one another. You're obviously better than him, right?
I think I still have him for now, but I think he's catching me pretty quick.
Maybe we'll ask him, Colton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because we'll be going down to Glenn Heffern, the USHL commissioner, actually invited us down to the Fall Classic.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we're going to try and get in touch with maybe Tynan there, a couple other Maritime guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, that's a great tournament to start the year. But yeah, I don't know what he would say, but we've been battling pretty hard this summer, so it's closer than it's ever been.
That's good. Just one last one for me. What was you touched on your St. John jersey, but I got to ask you this. What was your favorite jersey to wear in Europe?
Yeah. I think the jerseys I had in Finland were pretty good. We had like a baby blue jersey. It was pretty nice. I like that. they have like some crazy color schemes over in Europe, and they get all those ads too, so it looks pretty cool. Well, depends what you like, I guess, but yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Best one in
Right
Europe.
on.
Well, Josh, thank you. We definitely appreciate you hopping on, and safe flights, safe travels, and take care, man.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having me.
Looking for a new way to quench your thirst? Game Day Tarps is now an official Quench affiliate. Head on over to quench.ca/GameDayTarpsPodcast and use our code GameDayTarpsPodcast, all caps, all one word, for 15% off your total order. Stay cool this summer with the #1 sports drink on the market. Stay quenched.
Is the off season bumming you out?
Yeah.
Do you wish you had more hockey content to consume?
Yeah.
Well, head on over to patreon.com/GameDayTarps and check out all the exclusive content we have to offer. Behind the scenes videos, in-depth analysis, and so much more. Select a membership tier and enjoy the content made only for you. Only at patreon.com/GameDayTarps.
There we go. Had a little issue there. We are back. That was Josh Lawrence. Fantastic chatting with him. He's a great guy. We're gonna get him back on sometime during the year. Get him on for some KHL stories. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we got Casey Bryant, the Everett Silvertips play-by-play commentator, coming on, as well as I do believe Carter Bear. So we'll be joined by the Detroit Red Wings prospect tomorrow. Looking forward to that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode with Eric and with Josh. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow us over on Twitter X, and you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. GDT Live is back tomorrow at 11 Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern.